and start up the PowerPoint.
Good morning, everybody. And again, like Jennifer said, I'm Anna Gettman. Been in the business for quite some time. And so I like to say 25 plus years, because if I say any more than that, it's going to age me or date me. So anyhow, today we're going to be covering what fraud. It's super prominent right now. When we catch wind of what the fraudsters are doing and we put some securities in place and we prevent them from being successful, they go and find something new to do. So we're going to live in fraud till forever, but we have to be very aware of what's going on and the new trick or the new scheme. So we're here today to help you identify those things, to help you figure out or prevent you from being in a situation. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. Jen and the sales reps will let me know if I need to elaborate on whatever I'm covering because a question came in. So we're going to cover fraud potential on vacant properties today, uninsured deed, which is huge right now, red flags for potential elder abuse, which I'm in the middle of escrow about, with, and wire fraud and business email compromise. We're going to show you how to identify compromised emails, how StartInHere and InHere portal, how they help fight against fraud. And we'll go over that in some details about that. And at the end, we'll have Q&A to answer all your questions. Okay. So your main objective is not to be a target. Don't be a target of fraud. We strive to deliver great customer service to our community. And, sometimes part of that customer service, we think that we have to be able to hurry up and get to our end result or rush through this so we can give our product to our customers, right away, instant gratification. Well, sometimes it's good to just slow down. So that's going to be one of your tips today. But according to the FBI Internet Crime Report, in 2021 alone, there was 11,578 victims of real estate fraud for a total of $350 million in diverted funds. That's a lot, guys. It's a lot. Members of our industry are getting better at spotting diversion attempts. So we are getting, a little bit smarter about how we can stop these attempts, but fraud tactics change constantly. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the presentation, when we catch on and we put things in place or we implement things to either slow or stop the fraud, they go and find out something else to do. Okay. Wire fraud and other real estate fraud schemes pose a real threat to the property owners and buyers. By staying vigilant, which you're doing that today by attending this class, engaging in the best practices for safe communication, and working together to educate our clients, we can make a real difference. You're going to be the hero to save your client from being a victim of fraud, if not for yourself. Criminals who are posing as property owners and contacting real estate agents to sell a property that they do not own title to. Okay, so what that means is the criminals have engaged the real estate professional and by impersonating that they are the property owner, and they're attempting to negotiate the sale of the properties which are vacant or lien free. So they're calling you and saying, I own this piece of property, I want to sell it right away, it's free and clear, I need you to list it. And you have never met the person, if you've never seen the person, it's just a cold call, so just be aware that when you get these cold calls, stop, slow down, ask questions. Okay. So this is how it works. the criminal searches public records, which you and I can do, anybody can do. Search public records in whatever county that they're targeting, to identify real property that is free and clear, meaning there's no mortgages or liens, and then to identify the property owner, because you can, you get the name of who's on title. Properties often include vacant lots or rentals, because those are easier to hurry up and try to pull this scheme and open and close escrow and without anybody knowing. Okay, the criminal poses as a property owner, contacts a real estate agent to list a targeted property for sale and requests it being listed below the market value to generate immediate interest. Especially in this market right now where our inventory is low, these criminals know that they're going to be able to offload a property that they actually don't own and get it sold and get paid on it. The criminal poses as a property owner, requests preference for a cash buyer and quickly accepts an offer. So these are the type of things that are going on. And like I said at the beginning, we are in such a rush sometimes that we don't stop and ask these questions or stop and think, is this actually for real? Sometimes as maybe a listing agent, maybe ask the old saying, is this too good to be true type situation. So just be aware and ask questions. The criminal poses as the property owner and refuses to sign documents in person. Okay, so the property owner, quote unquote property owner says, I'm out of the area. I simply cannot come to you. I need to electronically sign everything. And they say that they were requesting a remote notary. A lot of these individuals have partners, and unfortunately these partners are notary publics. And unfortunately that's how they're getting away with. However, we have things in place that we require in our transactions. So if it gets to a point where the fraud transaction has gotten to where they're needing to sign documents in front of a notary, we have things in place that we require contracted notaries that we have vetted, and that it is a requirement that they sign with one of our contracted notary vetted notaries, and we have notaries nationwide. So if they say, oh, you probably don't have a notary in my area, I know who I have a notary. No, I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it, not going to happen. So we as title and escrow companies have these things in place. So even if the transaction gets to this point and it's a fraudulent transaction, this is what might help stop the transaction from actually being successful in the fraud's case. And then a lot of safety nets that are put in place are put there when you deal with a local title and escrow company. If you're dealing with a total either an independent escrow company, either in down Southern California or out of the area, out of state, they may not have these things in place that prevent the notary being done not by a vetted notary, a contracted notary. There's also a thing called a RON. It's a remote notary. California Recorder's Office, Fresno County Recorder's Office, they don't allow those. The only thing that they allow for an electronic notarization is solar releases, and that's something that they have already not negotiated, but come to an agreement with us. So even if they say, oh, I'm in a state where they allow RON, that's fine. That state may allow RON, but our recorder's office does not allow it. And no recorder's office as of yet in the state of California allows RON, which is a remote notary situation. And then of course, all your communication is via electronic, like you never talk to them on the phone. It's either text or email. Like those are huge red flags that you just need to stop and maybe hey, can we do a Zoom? Can we do a FaceTime? You need to be able to look at the person's face and then maybe do a little bit of due diligence and do your own little research. And this is how it's often discovered. Often when the recording the transfer documents with the relevant county is when it's discovered. It's so weird right now that I'm teaching this class because a lot of things are happening to me personally. and professionally. Like I mentioned about the elder abuse, we'll go on later. I have an escrow that's dealing with that right now. And then like personally, I thought this was amazing, and I'm hoping that Fresno County is doing this, and I'm going to look into it to make sure that it's doing this. I had an interfamily transfer in Santa Clara County, and we got in the mail, and I think this is so amazing. We got him, it was Santa Clara real estate fraud department. And of course I panicked a little bit, and they sent me a letter with a copy of the deed that was recorded and said, hey, we just want you to be aware that this deed was recorded for the property that you owned. And if you're aware of this, disregard this notice. If not, please call this fraud number. I thought this is amazing. And I think that this is, so our government entities, our county recorders are on board to try to prevent this, this type of fraud. And of course it was, you know, a deed that was an interfamily, you know, from a individual trust individual. But still, I think that's amazing that they're being vigilant and they're doing something about this fraud. So of course I didn't need to contact them because it was a deed that I actually did interfamily. But if it wasn't, you know, the time frame that I got that letter was maybe 7 to 8 days from the time that the deed was recorded. So at least somebody can be made aware pretty quickly. So anyways, I just thought I'd throw that in there because it's very relevant, and it's real life right now. So there you have it.
Anna, this might be a good time to tell them about the letters that we send out from Chicago Title to kind of address the same thing during our escrow.
Yes, we do mail these letters to the property owners, like, and to let them know that there is a transaction happening. And so if, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought somebody had said something. And that if they had any questions, that they can contact our office. So these are the type of letters that too are being circulated to make everybody aware. Now, and if we never get a phone call, great, but at least people are being notified, and it doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost anything it costs so much. I mean, minute amount of money to save a huge amount of money. So ask questions. Whoever you're dealing with, ask them if these type of things are being put in place, so you know that you have a little bit more peace of mind. You still have to be vigilant, but you have a little bit more peace of mind that the people that you're partnering with are on board and are actively, you know, trying to prevent this. So going back to how it's discovered and how to prevent falling victim, conduct open source research for the identity and recent photo of the purported seller. I know if you Google down on Gettman right now, you would be able to see my face, kind of match it up with of course, I'm all over the place on social media, but you would be able to see my face, my name, and be like, oh, okay, this is her. I did Zoom. This is what looked like. This is what she looked like. You know, if you're doing these things. Now, if you Google somebody and you just can't find a picture of them, not to say that they're the actual fraudsters. Some people that chose not to be on social media from day one since 2008. I think that's when Facebook, or 2007, whatever, Facebook came alive, and they chose not to. You may or may not find a photo, but that's just going to be able to get to the next level. Ask more questions, you know, have them provide an identification, and then Zoom with them. I mean, there's a lot you can do now. Nothing is 100% preventable in that case, but at least you can do your open research, find a source, try to find a picture, and to match the name of who you're actually dealing with. Okay. Another thing that you can do is ask them if they are out of the area. I know most real estate companies have affiliates in other cities and towns. Maybe ask them to meet with an agent in your, you know, sister city for the company that you work for, or make sure that they're like, don't worry about it. The title company that I use has an office in your area. You're going to be able to go and see them. And at least that person will be able, and if they still push back, no, then you know you're probably dealing with a fraudster. If you try to provide them every convenient opportunity to meet with somebody in person and they still refuse, you're going to be on high alert. Okay. So there's that. And then be on alert when a seller seeks or accepts an offer below market value in exchange for receiving the payment in cash and or quickly closing. We do come across, and we're going to address it with uninsured deeds, but people do handle their transactions out of escrow and just, deed the property just because they want something quick, and they want to just, make the cashier's check out directly to me. Oh, I thought this was supposed to go through escrow. Oh no, we'll just go ahead and have it directly made out to me. And we could tell the escrow company that, they're just going to record the deed and do the escrow instructions, just tell them that we've gotten the money, that we've taken care of outside of escrow. They'll put it in their instructions. Well, guess what? That you give that cashier's check to that seller, and they're long gone, and they're nowhere to be found to sign our escrow instructions stating that you paid them out of escrow. So there's that. And then, like I said, use trusted title companies that and you work well with. If you happen to have to use an outside title company in another area, again, just ask questions like you would ask the seller. Ask questions of the company that you're having to work with. So, and then nice little segue of the uninsured deeds that I just spoke about. An uninsured deed is a deed that has not been examined by the title company, meaning they went ahead, drafted the deed, had the deed signed and notarized on their own, and they went down and recorded it on their own with the recorder's office without title insurance, without a title and escrow company reviewing title, pulling a preliminary title report, and so on and so forth, and making sure that the property is free of any encumbrances or liens. Most common problems with uninsured deeds come from quitclaim deeds between family members, especially husband or wife or parents and children. Quitclaim deeds are no longer used in regards to transfer of title, transferring the title, or like we learned yesterday, conveyance. But you have to use a grant deed, because a grant deed wholly transfers the entire vested interest from one party to the other. A quitclaim deed eludes that there is some interest still left. So that's why quitclaim deeds are no longer used. But people don't know that when they're doing their own deed. They just go ahead, because these forms are readily available online. You can pull a copy of them and fill them out yourself and get them recorded. But people don't know that. And so when they're handling their own transaction outside of escrow and they go and do these deeds, they're called uninsured deeds. So in order for us to continue, because that was a break in title, what old school we used to call clouded title. We still kind of call it that, but it's clouded title, meaning it's kind of murky because we're trying to clean it up, where it's not very clean and clear and concise of, so on and so forth. So what we require as, and almost all title companies do require, is uninsured deed affidavits. What that means is we need to go back to the individual, the grantor, that originally signed the deed and deeded the property over to who currently owns it now. We need them to sign the affidavit stating that they did indeed sign that deed and they intended to deed the property over, because again, we don't know what notary was, if the notary was vetted and so on and so forth, and that they had indeed signed it in front of a notary public, and that was their intention to do so. And so once that affidavit is signed, the uninsured deed affidavit is signed by that grantor, then we can fully vest the property into that person's name. And now we are good to move forward on insuring the property once all the liens and encumbrances are cleared, to actually have a successful closing. So when a person is added to title, it is a window of opportunity for matters against him or her to attach to the property. So whether the deed is being used to deed the title from one person to the next, or one entity to the next as a whole, whoever's being put on title, any debts that they have against them automatically gets attached to the property. Now, having said that, that scenario does not have to be the only scenario as far as uninsured deed affidavit. For example, if I wanted to deed my son onto title without title insurance, without going through a title, that's still an uninsured deed because I'm adding him to title. But what I'm also doing too is I'm adding anything that he may be delinquent in or have any debts with people, anybody that's coming after him to collect a debt. Now all of a sudden he has an asset that they can attach. So just be very careful when you hear about, oh, I want to add so and so to title. Okay, that's fine, but it also means all of their stuff is going to attach to that property. Okay. Why should it be of concern to you when taking a listing? You need to know that if you're meeting with somebody and they were deeded onto title by an uninsured deed, and that person is nowhere to be found to sign the uninsured deed affidavit, there might be a delay. There might be some issues. So this is the reason why you should know if the vesting deed that you pulled from our customer service was an insured deed, because you have to prepare what your transaction is going to look like and how long it's going to take and what kind of speed bumps you may or may not have. So this is why you should be concerned. So we go back to the grantor of all uninsured deeds to verify their intent, which I just talked about, the uninsured deed affidavit. This can slow down your escrow or even lead to a cancellation if the grantor says it was not their intention to transfer, because they still have that option to do that because it wasn't insured. It wasn't notarized by a vetted notary, contracted notary. So this is why it's super important that you see a title company name on that vesting deed, or or a escrow number, title number, because that means that deed was insured. Okay. How to identify an uninsured deed. Look for the accommodation stamp on the deed. If we insure a deed, if we handle the deed, we are not stamping accommodation. If there is an accommodation stamp on that, that means there was no title insurance that was tied to that transfer, to that conveyance. Okay. Again, no title company listed or title company order number. So if you don't see any type of handwritten or typed order number, sometimes they're anywhere between 5 to 12 digits with the initial trailing. So any of that kind of identification is helpful, so you know that it's insured. No escrow number showing on the document. Same thing as above. No document stamp showing under the fee section. So basically, when somebody just walks in a deed, it doesn't have the same kind of coding that a title company would have. So but a lot of these other factors is going to be blaring for you. So for you not to know the document stamp showing under the fee section is not a big deal, but if it has these other things, then you're fine. And then handwritten document, of course, no title company or escrow company is going to record a handwritten document. Everything is typed, computer generated. So that's a huge, siren red flag that if it's a handwritten document. Never attempt to handle any business involving a questionable deed yourself. It's always best to leave this to the title company, us, as we can help you identify potential problems and eliminate unnecessary hurdle during the selling process. Okay. Could it be elder abuse? So right now, the red flags that you need to be aware of is the power of attorney document signed by the elder when the elder lacks mental capacity. Okay, it's very wise if you are listing a property and the seller is of older age. If they are not going to be part of, they're not going to be the ones to sign your documents because it's still a good idea to meet with them, have a conversation with them, make sure that their capacity is, they understand what's happening. So if you can't do that and you don't, another red flag is that the relative is telling you, no, you're not allowed to have direct communication with the elder. That's another red flag. If the person is aware of the transaction, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to have any contact with that person. The elder adding the name of a caretaker or romantic partner onto title, possibly in exchange for commitment of continued care or affection. That's another red flag. If they are just wanting to be so grateful and they want to add, there may be some underlying things going on if that is a situation. And at the same time, I mean, it could be on the up and up, but you just don't know. And the elder makes hurried changes to the will, trust, and or transfer on death deed. So that those are options for an older property owner. And if that's happening, that's something that you might just be a little bit more aware of what's happening. But if you're having a conversation with the actual seller, that's the elder, and they're fully coherent and they understand what's going on, and they know that what's happening, then I don't think that you have anything to worry about. But if any of these items come to surface, then kind of stop, take a beat, and then figure out what your next step is going to be. The escrow holder may have to resign from the transaction if we become aware of any of these red flags, because by resigning, that's our form of protecting against the elder abuse, against moving forward on something that the property owner, the older property owner is not aware of or being convinced otherwise. Okay. Do you need title lock? We've received questions about title lock, which promises protection against title theft. So the answer to this is, if your client is issued an Alta homeowner's policy, this potentially provides coverage when someone else claims to have rights affecting your title because of forgery or impersonation, even if it occurs after the date of policy. Okay. Uninsured deeds recorded against the property are not automatically considered valid on the chain of title. So that's what I was talking about earlier, that we don't vest through until we get that affidavit, the uninsured deed affidavit, because we're not sure that that deed is actually valid. Maybe that deed was signed under duress. So they're not actually considered valid on the chain of title. Okay. Clients can call their title company at any time to check for any recorded deeds or deeds of trust. Recording records are publicly available online in most counties, so homeowners can monitor title themselves. While monitoring title by itself won't prevent unauthorized recordings, neither will title lock. Okay. Title insurance is still the homeowner's best protection against forgery or impersonation. So it's always best to go through a trusted title and escrow company, and because the chances of any of this happening is lessened extremely. Okay. Okay, the biggest threat facing our industry is the ever-evolving saga of cyber fraud. It's a never-ending thing. It's never going to stop. An important reminder is we cannot overstate the importance of communicating through our secure channels. They can become cumbersome and overwhelming and just kind of frustrating to try to get through all of the two-factor authenticator, and I get it. But it's super important. Do not send sensitive information through email. Use secure emails, secure portals. Wire fraud is real. If your buyer's funds are diverted due to fraud, they may never, ever recover the money. 70% of homeowners incorrectly believe their title company or bank could recover funds that are wired to the wrong account. There's no way for us to recover that. Once they're gone, they're gone. 52% of home buyers are completely unaware of wire fraud in real estate. It all goes back to them. Just everybody's on a fast pace, and they don't. I mean, if I put a buyer or seller on hold right now, they're going to hear our hold. They're not going to hear hold music. They're going to hear our hold message, which talks about wire fraud and gives them tips and recommendations. But I bet you if you asked any of the buyer and seller, what did you hear when you were on hold? They probably aren't going to be able to tell you, because when somebody gets put on hold, their attention is elsewhere and they're just kind of like waiting for the person's voice to come through. So that 52% is pretty accurate, but I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to ask them next time if what did my hold message say? But I did have some people tell me, oh my gosh, when I got back on the line, like, oh my gosh, is that actually a real thing? Like, is that so scary? And so that's a nice little experiment for me to do. FBI findings. One of the most prevalent fraud scheme target businesses today. In 2022, the IC3 received 21,832 VEC complaints with adjusted losses. I gotta move my thing. Losses over 2.7 billion. Only crime type with losses in the billions other than investment fraud. Title companies, law firms, realtors, sellers, and buyers are some of the most often targeted victims of fraud. And the reason why is because sellers are so excited to sell their property. They're going to get, cash in on the equity. They're just super excited. They just are kind of mentally involved with that whole situation. So they're not super sensitive or hyper aware of fraudsters, in their scheme. Buyers, super excited. They can't wait to wire in all their, savings that they've been saving to buy it. So they're just not aware. And of course, all this is happening at title companies with realtors. So we are a big target for these fraudsters. Huge. Recognition, understand that all funds related to the transaction are targets, whether it's seller's proceeds, whether it's buyer's closing funds, buyer's EMD, whether it's a payoff. Private payoffs happen a lot. Institutional payoffs, we do have things in place to prevent that. And commissions for realtors. We right now, it's becoming more of a practice that commissions are being wired. The brokers want the commissions wired, agents want the commissions wired. So, they're not having to have a paper check to, go to the bank and deposit it. So that's been added. Commissions have been added as a target. Okay. Common indicators, emails or other communication attempts to change wire or disbursement instructions, especially when end of the business day, week, month. Friday afternoons, everybody's trying to hurry up. Our wire cutoff is 2:30, and and everybody's calling, has a wire come out, has a wire gone out. So end of the business day, end of the week, end of the month, that are very, very high chances of this happening prior to a holiday weekend when there's a Monday's holiday, so that means wires aren't going to be received until Tuesday. Received outside of normal business hours. That's another attempt, when emails are being sent after 5. Emails with significant changes in grammar, sentences, structures, etc. from prior communication. So you're good. So our emails, for the most part, look pretty much the same. We have templates, things may change a little bit depending on the property address, but they're going to look the same. So you as a realtor, when you are constantly dealing with the same title companies, you're going to get kind of a good visual of what our emails look like. So if you notice something, well, that's strange, or that's a little bit different, pick up the phone. It may just be something innocent that somebody updated their template, their email template, but it doesn't hurt to pick up the phone and be like, hey, did you actually mean to send that email asking for, whatever? And it's fine. It's okay. I get phone calls all day, every day, asking me if I actually sent an email, and I am so happy to get those emails. I'm not bothered by it one bit. It's a 10-second conversation, and it's like, oh yes, I did send you that email. Okay, just double checking, thanks. Click. Or wait a minute, what email are you talking about? no, I haven't, I wasn't working on your file today. So it's just a simple phone call. Okay. And then emails, requests secrecy or demands immediate action. We as a title company, unless we, most likely you're going to know if we're under the gun of trying to get something funded or something recorded, because we're going to be in communication with you constantly. So that's the only time that you're going to feel like if we're asking for something like a funding condition, like, oh my gosh, I need the FHA cert car form, you know. But if it's pushing for monetary items, especially like from a buyer, it's just kind of take a beat, slow things down, pick up the phone. Okay, is this something that you actually really need? Right? You know, just ask the question. It's not a, it's better safe than sorry. And then communication, excuse me, stating sudden changes to business practices. So title companies are not going to change their wire instructions. The title and escrow companies are not going to change how they, you know, do business. So if you get an email saying, oh, we're changing our policies and procedures, pick up the phone. Call the escrow officer, call the title company and ask the question, like physically call that person and start asking those questions. I got this email, like, when did this happen? What are you talking about? So. So spoofed emails. So this is an example of what a spoofed email looks like. So a lot of the times, if you just click on the email address of who it's from, it's going to pop open, like it's going to expand. And if it looks kind of funky, like normally it'd be like for us, it's ctt.com or fnf.com or fnf.org. But when it's something like that, spoofed email, use the escrow and the lenders. They look closely to the domain, look closely at the domains. If it's correct, then that's fine. But this would not be an actual email from a title company because of the fn-f-info. It's a spoofed email. So just, you know, form a habit and it's just a good rule of thumb to click on it, click on the domain, it'll extend it, and you can tell, oh man, this is not what normally how it's fnf.com, you know, because it doesn't match the signature block. Here's another example. Note that the only correct email is visible in this example. It is not until the recipient hits reply button that the fraudulent emails. So before if you click on it when you receive it, it may not pop up. So you'll have to hit reply and then click on it, and then it's going to pop up to where it shows the spoofed email address. So at least you can hit reply, but not actually send an email or send the actual information that they're requesting. This is just a way to find out if it's spoofed. Aggressive response. We get busy as escrow units, but we will never, no matter how busy we get or under the gun, we are never going to be aggressive towards you. We are your partners. We are your teammates. We want the same thing that your buyers and sellers and your brokerage and your office wants, to have a successful, pleasant closing. If you receive a very aggressive email from an escrow officer or an escrow unit, red flag. Again, maybe pick up the phone and give that unit a call and be like, okay, what's happening? Like, why the aggressive email? And most likely you're going to get a response of, what are you talking about? I didn't send you an aggressive email. So we will never be aggressive. Okay. Example of the attempts to get buyer contact information. So we do, when we get open escrows and, you know, everybody's excited, we get the contract, we do ask for buyer contact information. But right here it says, good morning, realtor, please provide Mr. Doe's buyer email address. Thank you, escrow officer. Our email, like I said, you're going to start recognizing, if you work with the same title companies in your area over and over again, you're going to recognize their emails. They're going to recognize that we all have signature blocks. It's very rare that we send an email that does not have a signature block. And if we do, you know, it's a fluke. But when you have an email like this, and it's very kind of vague and doesn't have a signature block, don't respond, pick up the phone, call the escrow unit and give them the contact information verbally, or ask them the question. And of course, they're going to be like, we didn't send you that email. Okay. Example of attempts to divert buyer's funds. So on this email, it says, good morning, we're in receipt of all closing docs and this file has been scheduled to close on Friday and we have to close all funds sent in via wire transfer prior to closing. Please let me know when it's convenient for you guys to transfer funds so I can provide you with the wire instructions as to avoid the further delays. Now, this looks like a very legit email, but you would have to, okay, first of all, most title and escrow companies don't have Gmail accounts. There is a couple of typos here and there, but when you get this type of email, pick up the phone and ask the question. I don't know how many, like, that's the thing. It's just pick up the phone and call your escrow unit. Because at that point, we don't want any more communication back and forth via email on the file, because most likely these fraudsters are sitting at the computer just watching, you know, whatever email got spoofed and just watching for the traffic. So if this happens to you, stop all electronic communication until, you know, throughout the rest of the closing, because it's not safe at all. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit inconvenient, but at that point, for the rest of the transaction, it's going to be phone calls and in-person conversations. Okay.
The other thing I just want to add, Anna, is make sure that you call the known number that you have for the people. A lot of times they'll put fake numbers in there, assuming that you're just going to go with the information in the email and call that number. And if you call the number in the spoofed email, they're prepared to continue trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So call the known number that you have for your escrow team.
Yes, that's a very good point. Because, and if you don't know the known number, I mean, we all have websites, and if you go on our actual the title company's website, call the main line and they're going to get you to the correct unit. So if you don't know the known number, again, go to the company's website of the title company you're dealing with. Okay. Example of attempts to divert buyer's funds continue. Here's just another example. Do I send it to the same wire instructions as before with the 6,000? Do you have final balance for me to send? So that's just another example. And then it says, no, I have attached our updated closing instructions where funds should be sent. Your closing amount to wire is different. So if they receive something different than what they have used before, that is a huge red flag. And then it says, please bring your checkbook to closing and we'll refund you the difference at closing. So this is actually so glaring. It's kind of apparent. Another example, they attempted at diverted funds. This is a little bit cumbersome, but on this little example, it says, I am busy anchoring a realty meeting with our agents and most of today. So it's basically, I'm not available. Don't call anybody. Just do what we're asking you to do type situation. Okay.
And again, real estate agents need to recognize that you are the victims of this a lot. People pretend to be you in the transaction, even more than they pretend to be us. So again, it's an opportunity to educate your clients about the way that you communicate and encourage them to pick up the phone anytime they get a weird email that looks like it's coming from you.
Another example is a hi realtor. I phoned Escrow Officer at title company and left a voicemail. Question if she gives me the exact amount of the needed funds to close, can I simply bring over a cashier's check from Wells Fargo Bank as an alternative to a wire? It seems simpler to me and may avoid the wire fee. I could also borrow a wheelbarrow from N&K and bring cash. Buyer. I don't know about this one. So, buyer's funds, a party copied and stated to the coordinator is a straw person, not involved in the transaction in any way. So this is another kind of red flag. Is you take a look at, your CCs, your twos, and not only your froms. So what we were talking about earlier on your from, when the hit reply, and then what the domains look, but also take a look at who your CCs are. That's another kind of red flag too, if there are CCs on there, carbon copies, okay? Rethinking communication. So we just have to retrain ourselves. And like I said, take a beat, slow down, and just kind of think about how we can change how we do business just a little bit, enough to protect our clients and ourselves. So you need to educate your clients, make them aware, and let them know that this is huge and this is happening. Provide expectations on how and when closing funds should be provided. So when you're having these conversations, let them know who's going to be contacting them and how they're going to be contacted, and how things are not going to change from start to finish, as far as communication wise, and whatever they're using to, however they're in the manner they're using to submit their funds is not going to change. Don't assume all emails received are legitimate. Let them know that they have to be aware. Be very aware of what they're receiving, who's sending it to them. Be careful about opening attachments and downloading files from emails, even if it appears to be from someone that they know, because that's how easy it is. It's spoofed. Until they hit that reply, they're not going to know that it's not a legitimate domain. Communication with transaction participants outside of email whenever possible. So again, just communicate with your clients, let them know what parties are involved, what escrow company, title company, escrow unit, escrow officer, loan officer, lender. Let them know these are the only parties that are going to be communicating with you. If you receive some a communication with somebody from outside of the transaction, that may be saying I'm helping, or I'm the liaison. No, that doesn't happen. Limit transmission of information to participants that need it. So again, somebody asking for a buyer's information or a seller's information that really actually doesn't need it. Your escrow unit is going to need that information. Anybody outside of that does not have it already, like a lender's going to have it, they're not going to be asking for it. Just limit who you provide that information to. If advised funds have been wired, by any party, immediately ask when and where and notify escrow. Okay. So if somebody wires something somewhere, let us know if we weren't the ones to ask for it or expect it. Okay, you can go and change that. Risk management, immediately delete and report unsolicited email spam from unknown parties. Do not open spam emails. Click on links in the email or open attachments, because that's their way of getting into your computer. Okay, always independently confirm wiring instructions in person or via telephone call to a trusted and verified phone number prior to forwarding to other parties. Remind clients and customers to never wire money without double checking that the wiring instructions are correct directly with the intended payee. Call the escrow unit and verify those wire instructions. Use a trusted phone number. If you don't have it, go on the company's website and call the main number. Consider implementing a standard warning notice to your customers of the scan. So the wire safe, let them know. And so that this is happening. So be aware. getting the earnest money to escrow. We accept personal checks on a normal 30-day escrow. Anything under 2 weeks, personal checks would not suffice, only because of the good funds law that we have to make sure that the personal checks could take up to 10 business days. Cashier's checks, wire funds, mobile deposits through StartInHere. So our StartInHere mobile deposit is, we send out an email to the buyers and they have the option, it's not mandatory, they have the option to take a picture of their check and make it payable to Chicago Title, and in the memo put the property address and or escrow number, and they have the option to deposit it through StartInHere mobile deposit. Okay, if your client does want to take advantage of this, where it's super secure, and they, are struggling or whatever the case may be, I have a step-by-step that we can email out to your clients of how to kind of facilitate and maneuver through this process. If you are sending your client in with the deposit, it is helpful if they have the name of the escrow officer, the escrow number, and the property address. You'd be surprised how many buyers, and they're excited, don't get me wrong, they're super excited. But they think that we know who they are and we know what property they're buying, because they're just so excited. They're like, I'm here to give my $3,000, $2,000 deposit. Okay, what's the property address? They actually sometimes don't know the property address that they're buying. It's kind of amazing to us how many times more often than not, they don't have this information. So just give them a little bit of a tidbit. Make sure you remember that property address, correct? Or here's the escrow number that I was provided. It's very helpful. Or you are going to go see Anna Gettman at Chicago Title. Okay, StartInHere is our new digital opening package for consumers with the ongoing threat of fraud. StartInHere is the way every real estate transaction should start. Okay, when you choose to open your escrow with Chicago Title, your buyers and sellers will each receive an email prompting them to provide their phone number and email, and in return, they get a 6-digit code to access StartInHere. Once entering StartInHere, they can now begin their real estate transaction safely, sharing financial information via our secured portal. Buyers will have the opportunity to review wire safe information as well as our wire instructions right in the beginning of the transaction. No more sending sensitive information via secure email. This portal is amazing. I encourage you to encourage your clients, if you have a transaction, whether it's a buyer or seller, they will receive both StartInHere portal, that they take advantage of this, and they because it goes from their secure site directly into our file. It's super secure. And if they kind of fumble through it, no worries, give us a call. We have been trained to help them walk through these things. We have job aids that we can share with them. We can, so it's super smooth, and I highly suggest that you encourage your clients to do it. If you want some more information about it, contact your sales rep. They are happy to go through this. I am working continuously with our escrow units for Fresno, Madera, to make sure that they are comfortable. So when your clients call them, they are able to help your clients. So this should be seamless and very advantageous to have a smooth escrow. InHere app and portal features for real estate professionals. This is something that you too can take advantage of and have success having everything you need. Transaction dashboard, milestone tracking, push notifications, in-app messaging, on-device documents. What that means is when we schedule your buyers and sellers, you're going to get a notification. Buyer has been scheduled for signing. Seller has been scheduled for signing. When the EMD arrives, you're going to get notified. And not only will you get notified, in your portal, you're going to have a copy of the earnest money deposit. Okay, so every time something happens in the transaction, you're going to get notified. And depending on what that milestone is, there may be a document for you to have copies of in one place. Milestone meaning an earnest money deposit was received. The preliminary title report has been received. When the file's closed out, you're going to have access to the final closing statement in here. So this is huge for you as a real estate professional to have it all in one place and at your fingertips. Remember the motto, inquire before you wire. We have gone into a digital age. We need to take a step back and start picking up the phone, and we need to start talking to each other instead of texting and emailing. I love to talk to people, as you can tell, but let's get back to picking up the phone or visiting the office and having conversations. I think it's just going to make us and our industry so much better. I encourage everybody to do that. I promise you it will be better if you just inquire before you wire, and let's get back to talking. You know, I love texting, I love email, but let's talk.
So Anna, there's a question in the chat from Susan Ipez, but Susan, would you be open to unmuting and just asking Anna your question?
Okay, yes. Okay, so I have a friend that, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I have a friend that she applied for this apartment or condo, and it was on, and she gave me the address because she went and took the money to the person that showed her the condo, and like 900 or 1,000 plus the application fee. And then he told her he would, she's seen the condo. Then he told her, call me the next day and I will give you the keys. So when she called him, he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm at an emergency. My sister's in the hospital. And then after that, he was gone. He took her money and she never got the condo. And I just wondered how many people they did that to. Mm-hmm. And so when I looked up the property, because I said, well, give me the address. I looked it up and someone had just purchased it in June of this year, 2023. And the person's name was on there, and I looked up her address. I thought, well, maybe we could send her a letter or something. And her address it didn't exist. It was, and they spelled Champlain wrong. They spelled it with a CJ instead of CH. And on the title, I mean, on the county records. So I just told her, well, this is all I can do is tell you to go call the cops and report it, make a report. So can a buyer do that also, be a fraud, or how would that happen? I don't know who the title company was. I know who the agents were because it just closed in June.
Well, typos happen all the time. So, but
I know that's what I said. I said it could be a typo, yeah, but the address was not, it didn't exist.
Oh yeah, and that's fine. Did the deed have a title stamp and a escrow number on it, or a title number?
Well, I just see the county records. I didn't even go through all of that. I just said, oh well, I think this is not a real person. Mm-hmm. But it just closed, so I don't know who the title company was or anything.
Yeah, it could have been, even though it showed that it was a title transfer, it doesn't necessarily mean it went through a title company. It could be one of those uninsured deeds.
Yes.
So that's hard to say without seeing the document, but it can happen to buyers, just like it happened to your friend as a renter. The only thing I can suggest is when you are any potential renter can actually call our customer service department and ask if for a property profile, or to let the information on who actually owns the property, so if they know that they're dealing with the same person. Now granted, if that person is saying, oh, I manage the property, they need to ask questions and say, okay, what's the property management name, like where's your office? Right. Unfortunately, a lot of these renters don't know that, and it's so
Right.
sad that I wish there's a way we can get it to the rental community. But yes, anybody can call our customer service department and ask for a property profile and ask them, you know, I just need to know who owns this property, so they know who they're dealing with, and they're actually dealing with the property owner. And if, like I said, if it's a management company, they can do their due diligence and look for their websites and call their main number and all that good stuff. I'm so sorry that happened to your friend. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, and of course they don't know all that. She was just excited that she was going to get this condo and she's
Yeah.
going to have her own place now.
So that, Susan, that happened to my nephew, and he was trying back in the day. It's been like 15 years, and somebody had it on Craigslist for rent.
Mhm.
And my nephew was on his way to go wire money to them because supposedly they were out of the country.
Oh,
And I caught him and said, is there a for sale sign on the property? And he said, yes. I said, then somebody's scamming those people. So they watch for the signs, right? They watch for the for sale signs, and then they go try to rent them, even though they're not able to rent them.
right. Yeah, this person
That's
had the
a scam.
key.
It's still a huge scam.
Yeah.
It's been going on for 15, 20 years.
Right, but you know, and I told her, wow, you should have, I go, I don't know what you should have done, because it was online. I don't know where she found it online, but he showed her the condo. He had the keys to it, and it was in a gated little condo on Fruit, right here down the street on Fruit. So I said, I don't know what to tell you, but you're not going to get your money back, but I guess you can make a police report, because I didn't know what else to tell her. Because she's lost her money now.
I don't want to accuse any agents of doing this, but if there's like a lockbox on the property, I mean, any random agent could have access to it and then say and show a home that's for sale that's vacant and say, oh,
Right.
look, and possibly scam when they're just a random agent with access to the
But
key box.
it closed in June. It's on, you know, it closed, so there was probably no lockbox now. And I said, I don't know what to tell you,
Yeah.
but
I mean, it could be a bad guy that, you know, bought a condo and wanted to scam
Yeah.
people, but it's pretty easy to be caught if you're actually the property owner.
yeah,
But again, you know, people, that's why we always encourage people change the locks when you close escrow, because you don't
Right.
know who may have gotten access to the property while it was listed for sale, whether it's contractors coming in and out or real estate providers. There's unfortunately, there's a lot of people who use their powers for bad instead of good. And that's why we just have to be almost a little bit obnoxiously vigilant. And like Anna said at the beginning, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you know, if you're being offered a condo at below market rent or anything like that, chances are it may not be legitimate.
right.
Are there any other questions for Anna or any other fraud questions that you guys have?
Oops. I have a question. Hello?
Yep, we're listening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't sure. This new program in here, is it good for mortgage brokers and I know on purchases, but refinances if you open an escrow? And is it good also for mortgage brokers in communication with the clients, escrow company, and possibly the lender, or no?
Right now, on a refinance, your borrower will get the StartInHere portal and all of that good stuff. As far as a loan officer lender, I'm sure that's coming here real soon. It's being fine tuned, but yes, you will eventually, as a lender loan officer, will have access to those type of documents. Right now, it's not available for loan officer lenders, but it's going to probably happen here real soon.
So I'm sure Linda will let us know.
Yeah, but on a refinance, your borrower, it will get that StartInHere portal access to get that payoff information and all of that good stuff. So for refinances, for the consumer portal is available now.
Perfect, that's great. And hello, Brad, I just saw your picture, you know, just want to, we go back a long time. And hello, Linda.
Hi.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for your participation. Billy did type in the chat, most home warranty companies, as a part of their home warranty, do offer a one-time lock change. So be sure to have your clients take advantage of that. Again, we have recorded this presentation and we'll be sharing it out to everyone who registered by the end of the day today, and it will also go up on our YouTube channel. But if anything that was brought up today, you have additional questions about or need additional information, don't hesitate to reach out to any of your Chicago Title sales execs, Anna, or your preferred Chicago Title escrow officer. Thanks for making us a part of your business, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a great
everybody.
weekend, everybody.